Now this is going to be the only video that you need for section A and section B. Believe me, because this creates a very simple, easy to follow, step-by-step plan. If we use this template and apply all these connectors, you don't need anything else, okay? Second, imparfait, a continuous action that happened in the past or a past routine. If you're explaining the story in a linear fashion from time A to B in the past, this should all happen in passé composé and imparfait. Dimanche matin is our when. Un incident surprenant a eu lieu, what? Okay, en Ontario is our where. This all must remain in pluscuparfait because all the actions happened before our main event in the past, which was him getting disappointed and then calling the police. And for this I have a simple trick that I've shared with my students. It's called 2-3-2 rule. First, you give your proposition, your main idea. Then you give an explanation and then you do réaffirmation, closes and confirms the argument. If your PR depends on TEF writing, this might be the most important video to watch this year. Most students think section A and B are about good French and just having good grammar. They are wrong. It's about these few very important points that no one ever talks about on the internet. Two independent examiners will correct your paper and they are looking for very specific things. First, respect de la situation, organisation, clarité, argumentation, contrôle de la langue. And in this video, I will tell you how to build all these aspects both for section A and section B by providing you a ready to use, easy to follow section A and B structure and simple to understand framework. I will also give you 5 topics of section A and B each so that you can practice by your own by applying all the knowledge that you gain from this video. And I will also tell you the biggest mistakes to avoid because these are very common mistakes that everyone make which keeps their writing score just to CLB 5 or 6. After this, you will not need another writing guide, believe me. So let's break it down step by step. Alright, I'm very excited to get started. So first let's discuss about exam structure and rubric. See, writing section is 1 hour in total and is divided into 2 parts for section A and section B. Let's talk about section A. You're a candidate sitting in front of the exam computer. Okay, you start the exam, it starts with section A, goes on for 25 minutes. You'll be given a catchy headline of a news report, something like "Déçu par les cadeaux de Noël, un enfant de 6 ans a appelé la police." Your task is to continue a short newspaper style story. You must write at least 80 words. You must write multiple paragraphs and add new information, not copy or just summarize the prompt. And then once 25 minutes are done, you must submit before that because the screen will automatically change to section B. Now let's talk about section B. Section B is 35 minutes long and you must write at least 200 words. The statement will be given to you and you're supposed to respond to the newspaper opinion and clearly express your point of view with at least 3 arguments and examples. Here is an example of section B topic with a response given by a candidate. The topic is "Les enfants ne font plus rien avec leurs mains." The exam is typed on a computer and during the exam you'll be given an on-screen keyboard through which you'll be able to select the accent. This is how it looks. Your writing is corrected by 2 independent examiners using an official evaluation grid. They access 2 main things. First, your task achievement and your organization. Did you answer correctly? Is your structure clear? Are the ideas developed logically and properly? Second, the language control. Complexity of your vocabulary, accuracy and variety of grammar like verb tenses, agreements, spellings, coherence and much more. Your final result is reported on a 0 to 699 scale along with a CEFR level and an NCLC level. This is how the equivalence table looks like. Okay, and this is going to be the exam rubric. If you respect the word count, write with a clear structure without too many grammatical mistakes and use the tenses correctly, you're already ahead of most candidates. Here are the things: minimum word count limit fulfilled, clear structure and flow, precise grammar, tense accuracy. If you have all these things in place, you are good to go. Now let's properly understand section A of TEF Canada Writing exam because honestly, this is where many students lose marks unnecessarily. Section A is not complicated, but it is very specific. You're given the beginning of a short newspaper article, usually something like a fait divers, meaning a small news event. I gave you an example earlier as well. It could be about an unusual incident, a surprising situation, something that happened in a city, a public reaction, police involvement, or some minor dramatic event. Your job is simple. You must continue the report writing, but this is where students make mistakes. Please understand that you're not summarizing, you're not telling a tale, you're not rewriting what is already written, you're continuing the story logically. as if you are the journalist finishing the article. Make sure the story you are writing is worthy of a news report. Oftentimes I see that students are writing the stories which are a bit too simple. It feels like a regular story. So make sure that the incident or an event has some weight to it. Now let's talk about the timing and technical structure of section A. So far you already know we have 25 minutes for section A. You must write multiple paragraphs, not just one block, because 3 multiple paragraphs help you to structurize each paragraph with its own intent. I will explain the intent of each paragraph very soon. The minimum word requirement is 80 words, but I always recommend aiming for 90 to 120 words so that you are comfortably above the limit. Being exactly at 80 is risky, and you can't spend time counting the words during the exam. That's why just a little over 80 words, about 90 to 120, this is the range that should be perfect. And for this I have a simple trick that I've shared with my students. It's called 2-3-2 rule. Okay, first paragraph should have 2 sentences, second paragraph should have 3 sentences, third paragraph should have 2 sentences. Please note that I'm saying sentences, not lines, because lines can be more or less depending on the width of the document. So whenever the full stop of your sentence happens, that is considered as one sentence, averaging about 15 words. Now can your section A be more or less than this? Yes, this is just like a visual and abstract rule to make it easier for you to predict about 100 words without actually counting them. But if you write more in them, it's completely okay, especially in the second paragraph. Now let's understand what the examiners are really looking for. They are evaluating 2 main aspects. First, the quality and relevance of your text. That means, do you respect the task? Does your continuation make sense? Is it coherent? Did you logically develop the situation? Second is called your maîtrise de la langue, your control of French. That includes grammatical accuracy, your vocabulary, your tenses, your gender, number agreements, your syntax, your spellings, punctuations. But here is the important thing to know. Section A is not about sophisticated vocabulary, okay? It is more about coherency, clarity and ease of understanding and a logical flow and development of story. Now, let me explain how you should think step by step during the exam. First 2 minutes are very crucial. You read carefully and identify these 5 elements: qui, quoi, où, quand, comment. That means who is involved, what happened already, where did it happen, when did it happen, what is missing. Because what you write must add new information, not repeat the prompt. If the prompt already explains that a child called the police because he was disappointed with the Christmas gift, then your continuation must describe what happened after the call, how the authorities reacted, what did the parents say, what the consequences were. You're filling in the logical continuation of the story. After reading, take 3 minutes to plan the 3 paragraphs. It's very important that you're pre-planning before starting your writing section A. I always teach my students this structure, so follow this carefully. Paragraph number 1, let's talk about its intention. The intention over here is more specific details on the incident. This is where we paraphrase the title and add more information regarding what, when, where, who, why. Let's read the first paragraph of this topic which I already mentioned earlier. Déçu par les cadeaux de Noël, un enfant de 6 ans a appelé la police. Read it with me. Dimanche matin, un incident surprenant a eu lieu en Ontario où un enfant de 6 ans a alerté la police parce qu'il n'était pas satisfait de ses cadeaux de Noël. Personne n'aurait jamais pensé qu'un tel incident puisse se produire. Dimanche matin is our when. Un incident surprenant a eu lieu, what? Okay? En Ontario is our where. Où un enfant de 6 ans a alerté la police is who. Parce qu'il n'était pas satisfait de ses cadeaux de Noël, why. Okay, so this is what we are overall saying. What happened right after the incident? Did someone arrive? Did someone respond? Was there an intervention? This is where we build the curiosity to begin telling the main plot in our second paragraph, which brings us to the second paragraph. Now let's talk about the intention of second paragraph so that you can go forward accordingly. This is where we do something what is called the développement des faits. This is where we are adding the details. What actions were taken? What explanations were given? How did the situation evolve? So first, let's read the second paragraph together and then I will explain you how to structure it. Selon le rapport reçu par notre journal, l'enfant avait placé beaucoup d'espoir dans ses cadeaux de Noël. En effet, il avait déjà annoncé à ses camarades qu'il recevrait un vélo et un jeu vidéo du Père Noël. Cependant, le matin du 25 décembre, lorsqu'il a ouvert ses paquets, il a été stupéfait de découvrir un livre. Extrêmement déçu, il a immédiatement appelé la police pour déposer une plainte contre le Père Noël. Les agents, amusés par la petite voix de l'enfant, mécontents, lui ont expliqué avec douceur qu'il recevrait peut-être ses cadeaux plus tard. So, always start this paragraph with selon le rapport reçu par notre journal, selon les témoignages, selon le rapport préliminaire, and then develop the story step by step. Make sure that while reading the second paragraph, the sentences must follow a proper chronological order. Now over here, I want to make you understand one very important thing, or I want to teach you one very important thing which is called past tenses. So let's see how to use past tenses. In section A, there are three tenses you will use most often. First, passé composé, a single action that happened in the past. Second, imparfait, a continuous action that happened in the past or a past routine or a habit. Then third tense, which is also very important, is called plus que parfait. It is a past action that happened before another past action. So it is technically called past of the past. If you are explaining the story in a linear fashion from time A to B in the past, this should all happen in passé composé and imparfait. So we are going to mark this point in the timeline as time AB. First line of the first paragraph is its perfect example. Dimanche matin, un incident surprenant a eu lieu en Ontario où un enfant de 6 ans a alerté, passé composé, la police parce qu'il n'était pas satisfait de ses cadeaux de Noël. Imparfait. But if you're explaining something which happened even in the past of the time AB, you should use plus que parfait while using a logical connector to refer back to the earlier past in the time. As you can clearly see here in the first paragraph, we already used passé composé to explain why the child called the police, but there is one more past layer when this child was expecting to receive the gifts from Santa Claus, which was logically and according to the time before the time frame AB. So if I want to go to that time frame and say, according to the report received, the child had a lot of hopes in his Christmas gifts, I cannot use passé composé here. I will have to use plus que parfait like this. Selon le rapport reçu par notre journal, un enfant avait placé beaucoup d'espoir dans ses cadeaux de Noël. En effet, il avait déjà annoncé à ses camarades qu'il recevrait, that he would receive, qu'il recevrait un vélo et un jeu vidéo du Père Noël. Now, this all must remain in plus que parfait because all the actions happened before our main event in the past, which was him getting disappointed and then calling the police. So, make sure to use all three of these tenses in the first and second paragraph because mixing these correctly show a good grammatical control which makes the examiner very happy. Now, I hope this explanation made you visualize the past tense properly and cleared out your past tense related doubt. Now, let's also talk about connectors. You should always use a good amount of connectors to smoothly transition from one sentence to another. So, make sure to read these paragraphs and see all the highlighted connectors that I have used so that you are able to use them in your writing as well, and make sure to use them as logically as you can. You don't need to push these connectors, but the more you use them with the proper logic, the more your writing will feel attractive and the higher score you will get. And for section A, your best friends are time connectors. Use words like d'abord, ensuite, quelques minutes plus tard, puis, finalement, au final. This makes your text easy to follow, which examiners appreciate a lot. Now, once you have done writing paragraph number 2 with all this information, now let's move on to paragraph number 3 and its intention. This paragraph will be our conclusion. This is where we tell how the whole incident ended and add a suggestion or a public statement or a safety measure given by any character. That final paragraph is very important because it should sound like an ending of a news article. Let's read the last paragraph together. Lors du reportage, les parents du petit enfant ont assuré qu'ils profiteraient de cet incident pour lui apprendre à exprimer sa déception de manière plus appropriée. Les autorités ont rappelé que les numéros d'urgence doivent être utilisés uniquement en cas de nécessité réelle. See, you can also use expressions like une enquête est en cours, les autorités ont rappelé que l'incident s'est terminé sans blessés, les policiers ont expliqué, il a déclaré que, etc., depending on the context of what you wrote. And these small phrases immediately make your writing sound more authentic and professional. Now let's talk about what not to do. Do not copy sentences from the prompt. That gives you zero added value. Do not change the story completely into something unrealistic. It must stay credible. Do not write dialogue in a dramatic storytelling style. This is not a novel. It is a newspaper continuation. And please, do not write everything in one big paragraph. Make sure to divide them properly. Next point, remember structure and good grammar beats high-end vocabulary. Though it is important to have good level of vocabulary, but first priority should be writing in an easy-to-read structure, using good connectors and reducing your grammatical mistakes and awkward English to French translation. Finally, let me give you the bigger picture. Section A is actually your opportunity to score safely. It is shorter, it is structurized, it is predictable. If you master this format, 3 paragraphs, chronological order with logical connectors, neutral tone and proper tenses, you can secure solid marks without needing advanced vocabulary. That is how you score higher in section A. Now, as I promised, at the end of section A explanation, I will leave you by giving you these 3 section A topics written on the same topic but different writings. One of CLB 5, one of CLB 7 and one of CLB 9, so that you can compare your own writing with it and see where you stand. Now please make sure to pause the video, compare them carefully, look at sentence length, look at connectors, look at tense control, look at the level of vocabulary that is getting used, and ask yourself honestly, where does your writing currently stand? Now we move on to section B, and this is the part where most students either jump from CLB 6 to 9 or they lose marks because they write without a proper plan. So listen to this carefully. In section B, you are reacting to a statement from a newspaper and you have to do one thing very clearly. Take a position and justify it with at least 3 arguments and ideally 1 example per argument, and citing a study in at least one of the paragraphs. Okay, and I want you to remember one thing: this is not a letter writing exam, this is an argumentation. Okay, you can start with bonjour madame, monsieur, or monsieur le rédacteur en chef, anything like that. I'll give you the options to use, but after that what matters is your logic, your development, your connectors and your grammar control. Now I'm going to show you the exact system I teach to my students. See, here's the proper plan. Now you write the full text in next 22 minutes and please leave your last 3 minutes to properly proofread, review and refine your text. So if you follow this, you have a proper plan right from the beginning and things become so much easier because you are not thinking about anything randomly or on spot. You think and you create your plan for first 3 minutes and then you execute it for the remainder of the time. Now I'll teach you the structure. First, let's start from the intro. Honestly, your intro does not need to be crazy complex. A simple and short works the best. Here are the variations you can use depending on if you're fully agreeing, fully disagreeing, partially agreeing with a disagreement, that means 2:1 ratio, partially disagreeing with a common point of view, which is 2:1 ratio again, but over here we are disagreeing first, majority we are disagreeing, and then one common point of view. So please make sure to pause the video and note this down in detail. All wordings are properly set according to what we need to say, according to your position. So you don't need to change anything here. Just add the element where the bracket says you to do so and you'll be fine. Now, one very important point for section B, I highly recommend to never completely agree or disagree. Always either partially agree with a disagreement or partially disagree with one agreement. Why? Because this helps you to use more variety of language in your article. When you are just fully agreeing or disagreeing, your article becomes monotonous. You're not able to use a lot of varied connectors and your argument ideas also start to exhaust. That is why 2:1 keeps it more varied, nuanced and interesting. Now let's talk about the global structure of first, second and third paragraph. This structure won't change whether you agree or disagree. What will change will be the sentence starting connectors. I will explain that also very soon. Now the structure of every argument paragraph must follow the same rhythm. First, you give your proposition, your main idea. Then you give an explanation, which is called explication, why it's true, what it means. Okay, this is also where you give an example or cite a study, and then you do reaffirmation, one line that closes and confirms the argument. This is the secret. Most students write only explanations without clearly stating the proposition, and also they forget to give a proper closure to the paragraph. This is why their paragraph, it feels messy and incomplete. So this is going to be your section B structure, visualized for a better understanding. Now the structure will remain the same if you are agreeing or disagreeing. Your intro, then your paragraph 1, your paragraph 2, your paragraph 3 and conclusion. Now let's start with intro. Introduction, you can select one according to the plan. And now for the upcoming paragraphs 1 to 3, I will include all the useful expressions and connectors. Make sure to pick and choose from the ones that I give you. These connectors and expressions are already tried and tested, so you do not need to overthink, just follow these connectors. Paragraph 1, which is our agreement paragraph. Our proposition will start with tout d'abord or certes, and then nous ne pouvons pas nier que, il faut comprendre que. Okay, and then you give your first proper statement, and then second line will be the explanation. This is where you cite a study or you give an example. A study or sondage works perfect. Une étude publiée par, or un sondage mené par, or à titre d'exemple. Okay, so this is where you cite a study or an example to give a solid proof of your first argument. Now the third line or the upcoming line will be réaffirmation or reaffirmation, okay, which starts with c'est pourquoi, alors, okay, and then you end the paragraph by solidifying your position. Obviously I'll be showing you a text which will give you a better understanding on how to do each and every one of those things. Now paragraph 2 will be your agreement again. Okay, we'll give a proposition. We'll start the second paragraph with first connector, which will be de surcroître, en plus, deuxièmement, and then il convient également de souligner que, or il faut aussi noter que, and then you write your explanation, and after that you complete your proposition, and then you move on to the explanation, where again you give an example or a study or sondage using the same connectors. Une étude publiée par, un sondage mené par, à titre d'exemple. So if you have already cited a study or given a sondage earlier, in this paragraph I would like you to give an example so that we can vary the explanations, okay? And then after you give a proper explanation, you go on to réaffirmation, which you start with c'est pour cette raison que, donc, alors, and then you end the paragraph by solidifying your position. Now let's talk about paragraph number 3, which is going to be disagreement, or if your earlier two paragraphs were for disagreement, this will be your agreement. Okay, now you start proposition. Now over here for disagreement we are using cependant, toutefois, en revanche, néanmoins, de notre côté. So after you use these connectors in the beginning of paragraph, you move on to your main affirmation, which is going to be je ne partage pas totalement cette conclusion car, or il faut aussi considérer que. A simple explanation will work over here. Why? Because we don't need to cite studies or give very firm examples if this is not the major opinion that we share. So that is why I try not to go too much complex over here. And then you end the third paragraph with réaffirmation, in which you can simply say alors il convient donc de nuancer cette affirmation, or cette réalité montre que la situation est plus complexe. This will be your third paragraph, and then you move on to the conclusion. Now let's quickly talk about conclusion. It can stay simple. You can use just this one if you are mostly agreeing. Okay, if you are agreeing mostly 2:1. En conclusion, bien que cette affirmation soit en garde partie correcte, un équilibre doit être maintenu afin de considérer les différentes situations possibles. Or, if you are disagreeing mostly with one common point of view, then you can say en conclusion, même si certains éléments de cette opinion sont valables, il est nécessaire de garder une vision équilibrée pour mieux comprendre la réalité. At the end, you always wrap up with je vous remercie de me laisser faire part de mon point de vue et j'espère que vous allez le publier. Cordialement, and then your name. Now I'm going to take a section B text from my student and tell you how she has applied all these points that I mentioned for introduction, paragraph 1, 2, 3, and then the conclusion. Okay, so the topic is les enfants ne font plus rien avec leurs mains. As you can see here, the student is partially agreeing with one disagreement. The introduction is a template intro. Then the first paragraph is explaining the first argument. Okay, let's read it properly. We have a proposition here. Certes, nous ne pouvons pas nier que l'essor de la technologie nuit à l'apprentissage des activités manuelles chez les enfants. And then we are explaining by citing a study. À ce sujet, une étude publiée par l'Université de Toronto en janvier 2026 indique que le temps passé devant les écrans a considérablement augmenté ces dernières années, ce qui réduit le temps disponible pour des activités comme le bricolage ou la peinture. This is our explanation. And then we are reaffirming to strengthen our position further. Il faut donc reconnaître que la multiplication des outils numériques entraîne une baisse d'intérêt pour les activités manuelles chez les enfants. And this pattern is repeating in the next two paragraphs as well. And the only difference is that because the third paragraph is disagreeing, we are just adding cependant. So, our proposition of disagreement paragraph is cependant, affirmer que les enfants ne font plus rien avec leurs mains me semble excessif. Then we are giving a simple explanation. En réalité, beaucoup d'entre eux participent encore à des activités pratiques à la maison, comme la cuisine ou l'aide aux tâches ménagères. De plus, certains loisirs modernes, comme les ateliers créatifs ou les projets scolaires, continue de stimuler leurs compétences manuelles. This is explained simply. And then let's move on to reaffirmation. Il convient donc de nuancer cette affirmation car la situation varie selon le contexte familial et éducatif. This is how we end it simply. Now, let's talk about some important things to consider in your section B. Do not write only 2 arguments, obviously, because 3 arguments is the minimum requirement that you have to do. Don't write arguments without example. Don't just be like, okay, I don't agree because of this. Properly explain, properly defend your point of view. Don't repeat the same idea in different words. This happens very commonly, especially when you are agreeing completely or disagreeing completely. Don't write an introduction of 8 lines. Please make sure to keep introduction short and simple, because that's not where you are gonna get evaluated. You're gonna get evaluated on the 3 arguments that you're making. Okay, and please do not write complicated sentences if you cannot control grammar. Clarity wins more than complexity. A lot of students, what they try to do is they try to use very complex vocabulary, but then they are not sure if the grammar is correct or not. So that is something that you should avoid. Grammar should be the topmost priority because it's writing, and then comes your advanced vocabulary. Okay.
So I would also like to give you 2 examples of section A and 2 examples of section B, which will help you understand in detail on how CLB 9 TEF Canada Writing looks like, so that you're able to observe it and try to write it and replicate it yourself. With this, I'll also give you 3 more topics of section A and 3 of section B, so that you're able to practice it on your end and get it checked through ChatGPT. Make sure to register for the beginner program. So once you go on to the bottom of the beginner program, there will be one section which will include the document which has examples of section A and section B TEF writing. So make sure to use that and practice on your own as well. Once you go on to higher levels with Frenchify, we provide exact step-by-step and more detailed templates to students and more writing examples where they're able to read CLB 9 and CLB 10 writings written by actual Frenchify students, those who have given their exams and got CLB 10 or plus in their writings. So those writing templates are very, very useful for students. Right from A1 up until B2, I also provide very important prompts that are useful in ChatGPT or Claude, so that students are able to use them and get their writings checked as well. So if you want to make sure that you are learning in the best way possible, you can sign up for Frenchify programs, where you will not only get a proper roadmap and a hand-holding approach to make you learn French, but with that you will also get all of the different tips and techniques and higher level of templates in writing, in speaking, and all the modules, so that you are able to clear your exam ASAP. So if you're interested, sign up for Frenchify programs.
Now this is going to be the only video that you need for section A and section B. Believe me, because this creates a very simple, easy to follow, step-by-step plan. If we use this template and apply all these connectors, you don't need anything else. Okay, so please make sure to follow it to the T. In the document, I have also included some extra writing topics that you can do, and once you are done with those writing topics, make sure to put your writings into ChatGPT and give the prompt that I have mentioned in the document. Okay, so literally I'm helping you check the writings as well by doing this method. So please make sure to do it, and all the best. If you need any help, Frenchify is always there. Make sure to register for Frenchify programs if you're a complete beginner, and if you're training for TEF Canada, because I know that your work permit is expiring very, very soon. Time is the most crucial thing for you, and you must take it seriously. So if you want to take French learning seriously, make sure to connect with Frenchify. Will help you clear TEF exam with high score. Au revoir.